People keep saying Anthony Joshua is finished. They say his time is over. They say the hunger is gone. They say once you get knocked out like that, you never really come back the same. But that narrative misses something crucial.
No. You rise to the occasion. Experience comes with age, and I've been hearing a lot about age.
Because what you're witnessing right now isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of something else entirely. And beginnings always look messy to people who only understand endings. Quiet doesn't mean broken. Caution doesn't mean scared. And hesitation doesn't mean lost. Sometimes it means something far more difficult to watch. It means a man is dismantling himself deliberately so he can figure out which pieces actually matter. Most people never attempt that. They just pretend. They perform. They defend the version of themselves that already stopped working. Joshua didn't choose that path. And that's exactly why so many people don't recognize what's happening. The question everyone keeps asking is wrong. They ask, can Anthony Joshua become champion again? That's the surface conversation. The real question cuts deeper. What happens to a man whose entire identity was built on being untouchable when he discovers he can be touched? Because Joshua wasn't just winning fights. He was embodying something larger. Olympic hero, heavyweight king, British icon, the marketable champion who did everything right. He wasn't supposed to have doubts. And when doubt finally showed up, it didn't come from outside voices. It came from inside the ring, in front of millions. That changes the entire equation. When you lose because of a bad game plan, you fix the plan. But when you lose because your entire sense of self gets shattered, that's not a technical issue. That's an existential one. And most people will do anything to avoid facing that. Here's what everyone misunderstands about Joshua's defeats. They frame them as athletic failures. They weren't. They were failures of invincibility. Before Ruiz, Joshua moved like someone who believed the universe would cooperate. After Ruiz, he moved like someone who learned the universe doesn't negotiate. That realization destabilizes everything. Because once you understand you're vulnerable, once you understand you can be broken, you can't pretend otherwise. The confidence you had before was built on not knowing. The only confidence available now must be constructed, brick by brick, wound by wound, choice by choice. That's Joshua's current location. And that location doesn't photograph well. The crowd wants violence. They want the old Anthony Joshua, the destroyer, the knockout artist. But violence without understanding is just flailing. And understanding doesn't emerge from spectacle. It emerges from silence. Joshua didn't collapse into blame. He didn't create drama. He didn't vanish in a nightlife or publicity stunts. He did something infinitely harder. He withdrew and acknowledged, without fanfare, that his previous approach had reached its limit. That's not fragility. That's courage under impossible scrutiny. Most people shatter when forced into that position. Observe how Joshua operates now. Not just in the ring, in his mind. He's more calculated, more intentional, less explosive, but more conscious. That irritates audiences because consciousness isn't thrilling. Consciousness is gradual. Consciousness is careful. Consciousness is what emerges when you stop running from fear and start examining it instead. Joshua isn't pretending to be fearless anymore. He's discovering how to function while fear is in the room. That's a more sophisticated form of strength. This is where people mistake reconstruction for deterioration. They witness caution and label it weakness. But caution can also be wisdom. When someone stops reacting on autopilot and starts selecting his responses, he appears slower. But he's actually more lethal over time, because he's no longer operating purely on instinct. He's incorporating thought. Joshua is no longer fighting like someone who expects to dominate. He's fighting like someone who respects what can happen. That's a punishing adjustment, especially in an arena where belief is everything. Here's the truth most observers refuse to acknowledge. They don't actually want Joshua to rebuild. They want him to rewind to who he was. Because rebuilding confronts everyone with something uncomfortable. That identity shifts. That achievement doesn't lock you in place forever. That you can climb to the summit and still need to reconstruct yourself completely. That's unsettling. So it's simpler to declare him finished. Finished men are easy to understand. Rebuilding men are not. There's another dimension here that almost never gets examined. Joshua isn't just fighting other boxers. He's fighting mythology. From the public, from journalists, from corporations, from an entire nation that anointed him too soon. Being a symbol weighs more than being a winner. When he fell, he didn't just lose bouts. He lost the right to struggle privately. Every expression became analysis. Every silence became a story. Every sign of doubt became proof. That weight warps everything, and surviving that weight demands separation. Joshua created that separation, not to dodge accountability, but to reclaim his own agency. Here's where most people take the wrong turn. After public humiliation, they accelerate. They hunt for vindication. They manufacture certainty before it's real. Joshua rejected that impulse. He permitted doubt to stay. That's unusual, because living with doubt feels like surrender, even when it's essential. But transformation doesn't occur in chaos. It occurs in uncomfortable stillness. That's where identity gets renegotiated. That's where illusions collapse. And that's where authentic confidence begins forming. Consider the evidence. Joshua switches coaches, changes camps, tests different approaches. Critics call that confusion. But confusion only exists without purpose. What Joshua is doing is investigation. He's trying on different frameworks. He's discovering what serves the person he's becoming, not the person he was pressured to stay. That requires both humility and endurance. Two qualities audiences rarely celebrate. This is the stage nobody cheers for. The transition. Too aware to be wild. Too incomplete to be unstoppable. Too silent to be marketable. But this is where real foundations get laid. Remove the persona. Remove the pressure. Remove the old identity that stopped functioning. And confront an uncomfortable question. Who am I now when dominance isn't automatic? Most people evade that question their entire lives. Joshua is wrestling with it publicly. Under cameras. Under mockery. That alone proves he isn't destroyed. There's a hidden cost to early dominance that people overlook. When success comes easily, development stalls. When success disappears, development becomes unavoidable. Joshua hit the ceiling of what his original mindset could sustain. He didn't crumble. He stopped. And stopping under pressure requires more power than swinging desperately. Rebuilding doesn't mean becoming timid. It means becoming exact. It means knowing when to attack and when to observe. It means recognizing that force without intelligence eventually consumes itself. Joshua discovered that through pain. Now he's applying the knowledge. That's not regression. That's maturation. Here's what makes people anxious. If Joshua wins again, it won't resemble the old compilations. It'll look quieter, more calculated, more clinical. Because men who rebuild don't return as copies. They return as something more difficult to decode, more difficult to shake, more difficult to outthink. And that's what actually frightens people. So no, Anthony Joshua isn't broken. Broken men hide behind excuses. Broken men fake confidence they've lost. Broken men repeat failed patterns and blame circumstances. Joshua stepped away. He reevaluated. He paid the price. And he continued forward without demanding validation. That's not collapse. That's integrity. And integrity doesn't advertise itself. It proves itself later, when everyone else is still debating what happened. Whether he captures another title almost misses the deeper point. What matters is this. He didn't allow defeat to destroy him. He allowed it to reshape him. And that transformation doesn't follow schedules. It only follows reality. Most people don't emerge from that process intact. They splinter. Joshua maintained coherence by slowing down. That's reconstruction. And reconstruction always looks underwhelming. Right before it succeeds,